4.7 in your textbook. However, it's on inverse trigonometry. You don't know what that is yet, so that doesn't tell you anything. So here we go. If I have an equation that is, I've started us off two ways so far today, and I'm still not sure which of the ways made more sense to people, so I'm going to try it. Sine of something equals 1. If you are given the equation sine of something equals 1, that is asking the question, sine of what thing equals 1? So that thing, we need to talk about what type of an answer you should get for that here in a second. Okay, now, the book is going to give you problems in your homework tonight that are phrased like this. Sine with a little negative 1 there of 1. That means the same thing as this. Okay? So sine with a little negative 1 of 1 would say the same thing as sine of x equals 1. Okay, now we're going to try to answer the question. And I'm going to tell you that x has to be in negative 2 pi to 2 pi. So x needs to be on that interval. We're going to answer this question a couple of ways. Okay? First of all, I see sine and I see a 1. In my mind, I start to think unit circle. Okay? Because I know that the unit circle has places on it with a sign and a value of 1. Okay, so sine of x equals 1. Does anybody know the answers right now? Answer or answers? Sine of x equals 1. What values of x would make sense to put in there? Okay, that answers that question. Not coming off the top of your head. So then the question becomes, what type of answer should go in here? Sine of something equals 1. What type of somethings should we be putting into sine?
Would it be what the y's are on the unit circle?
Sine, okay, so the y value, sine of x is the y value. So we need the y value to be 1. Okay, that doesn't totally answer my question, but we're going to get to that. So let's go with that for right now, and we'll come back to my question a minute ago. So sine is the y value on your unit circle. Sine is the y value. Your y value is 1 up here. All right. So therefore, now does anyone know the answer to the question? Sine of what thing equals 1?
Zero.
No.
Everything.
Okay, now that is actually a correct answer. That's not all of them. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But
More than one?
sine of pi over 2 is what equals 1. So the things that you should be putting into your function should be angle measures. I'm going to put that right here. X should be an angle. Okay, things that go into trig functions are angle measures. So therefore, inverse trig functions are equal to angle measures. That's very important for you to grasp. Okay, inverse trig functions are equal to angle measures. So in your calculators, if you're in degrees, you should get out like numbers between 0 and 360. If you're in radians, you're going to get much smaller values. You should get out numbers between 0 and 2 pi, which is 6.28. Now, the calculators we gave you this year actually give you exact values, so they keep pi in the answer. All right? Most calculators give you a decimal answer, so it will give you a number between 0 and 6.28 for your inverse trig values, because those are the angles between 0 and 2 pi. Okay, so inverse trig functions should equal an angle measure. So we are looking for the angle measure whose sine value is 1. You might want to write that down in English. Maybe I'll do it for you. Okay, what angles or angle have a sine value of 1? That's the question that you should ask with this problem. So yes, pi over 2 is one correct answer. However, it's not the only one because my interval that I'm set on is negative 2 pi to 2 pi. Let me put this on a picture for you. A graph of sine of x that we did on last Friday, so a week ago now. This is 2 pi. This would be like negative 2 pi. The graph of sine, I'm not going to talk with you about it so much right now because of time. But the graph of sine would start at the origin and increase before coming back down and then coming back up to the x-axis. Okay, so if I want my sine value to equal 1, and this is the graph of y equals sine of x, on the interval negative 2 pi to 2 pi, my y value needs to be 1. I hit the height of 1, yeah, pi over 2 is one of those locations, but I have another one, and it's over here. What's that location right there? Anybody? Negative 3 pi over 2. So let's see. X does equal pi over 2, but x also equals negative 3 pi over 2. Now, how can you come up with that without looking at the rectangular coordinate graph? How can you come up with that from the unit circle? Well, look at your entire unit circle as going both clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time. So this is in the counterclockwise or positive direction. Yeah, that location is the only one that gives me a height of 1. But I can get to that same location going clockwise. So I can get to that same location by going negative 3 pi over 2 clockwise direction. Okay? So you don't need the rectangular coordinate graph to come up with the correct answer. However, you can use your calculator for these, but your calculator will not do all of the thinking for you. Not even the ones we gave you this year that do give you exact value answers with pi in them. Those don't even give you all the answers you need. Because you have to have both of these correct answers to get the problem right. You can't just have one. Your calculator will only give you the first value. It will only give you the first value that's a solution on your unit circle. It won't give you all of them. Okay? So, let's talk about that a little bit more. Let's say that you were given the equation sine of x equals 1. Until today, to solve that equation for x, you might have looked at that equation and said, okay, so I need to get x alone, so I need to get rid of sine. How do I get rid of sine? And some of you may have said to divide, and I hesitate to even tell you that because the tendency is so strong for people to incorrectly solve the equation by dividing by sine. I see that all the time, and it's not correct at all. Okay? Sine is not multiplied by x. It's composition, not multiplication. So it's kind of like x to the third. If you have x to the third, how do you get rid of the cubed? You have to cube root. You have to undo the cubed by the inverse function. The inverse of sine is not dividing by sine because it's not multiplication. The inverse of sine is inverse sine, and you write it like that. So you need to take the inverse sine of both sides. Okay? So we're taking the inverse sine of both sides of the equation to get x alone. Now, the inverse sine of sine cancels out and leaves you with what is inside. It doesn't always leave you with x, it always leaves you with what is inside the function. So this is equal to x in this case. X equals the inverse sine of 1. In your calculator, try typing in the inverse sine of 1. I'm going to give you a few minutes to get your calculator in radians. First of all, if it's not in radians, make sure it's in radians because we're going to work in radians today. And second of all, you need to figure out how to type it in. Some people need to type it in backwards. It just depends on the calculator you have. Let me know if you're having trouble. Okay, so the inverse sine of 1. Now I should tell you, some calculators, it's rare, but some calculators don't have sine with a little -1. They have arc sine. That is the same thing as inverse sine. Okay? And they are the same thing. So find one of those. Anytime you see arc or little -1, they're the same thing. They mean inverse of that trig function. Okay? Anybody need help? Yeah. We're talking about if you were working through this without a graph or without the unit circle first, if you were just trying to solve it, that is right, then you would need a calculator to do it.
This help us on 32 and 38.
You did 1 and the sign.
So I should, if I didn't understand it.
I don't know how I got it. Oh, how do you change it? Oh, I know how to Okay, so that's what it's
Hey guys, those of you that are getting 1/2 pi, that's true. X does equal 1/2 pi. Some of you may be getting 1.57. That's also true. That is equal to pi over 2, or 1/2 pi. Okay, back up here. Here's the problem with that. Like I said, your calculator doesn't think for you. Your calculator only gives you the first value on your unit circle. It doesn't give you all of them. So you still then have to think about the unit circle and say, if I'm supposed to be on the interval -2 pi to 2 pi, which they'll tell you what interval you need to be on. Okay, if I'm supposed to be on that interval, is this the only solution? And it's rare that it is. So pi over 2 is only the first solution. There is another solution, and you can either reflect to the unit circle or to your rectangular coordinate graph, either one, to think about what other solutions you would have. So this is not enough information, I guess is what I'm telling you. You need to be able to still go to the unit circle or this graph and come up with all solutions. Does that make sense? Maybe? Okay. Now, the question might be popping into your brain, well, that's all fine and dandy, but how do I know if I can evaluate it that way to begin with? How do I know if I need a calculator or not to do the problem? Well, let's try some. And I wrote pretty big here in the middle, so I'm actually going to erase this right here. It's still on the video and you have it written down maybe. I want more space is what I'm saying. Okay, because I'm now going to draw a big unit circle. Okay, so we have a list of problems over here that I've put for you. All right, now I want to know if I can evaluate those exactly using the unit circle. If I can, let's do that. If not, we're going to have to approximate. Here's the application for you for your homework assignment. Cosine of x equals 0. I want to know what the answers are. So I want to know what values of x give me a cosine that equals 0 in the interval -2 pi to 2 pi inclusive. So I can have answers of -2 pi or 2 pi. I don't have to go up to them. I can include -2 pi and 2 pi. So let's see. This is asking what angle measures give me a cosine value of 0. So on my unit circle, cosine is the first number. So I need a cosine value of 0. So I need my first number to be 0. Well, let's see, my first number, 0, at this location and this location. The first number is 0 up there and down here. How do you get to those? What angle measures, that's the type of answers you should be getting right now, What angle measures take you to those locations?
Pi over 2.
Pi over 2 is one of them.
3 pi.
Pi over 2, right there. 3 pi over 2. But that's only in the positive direction. We're allowed to be on negative 2 pi to 2 pi, so you can also go in the negative direction. So what negative angles take you to this location and this location?
Negative pi over 2 and negative 3 pi over 2.
Negative pi over 2 and negative 3 pi over 2. I should tell you, they won't always be opposite values. Okay? You should always, in the interval negative 2 pi to 2 pi, you should always have two answers. The question is, do you have more than two answers? You should always have at least one negative and one positive solution. Okay, unless there's no solution, which is possible. So sine of x equals negative square root of 3 over 2. Do you recognize negative square root of 3 over 2 as a sine value off the unit circle? Yes. Okay, so it's on there somewhere. Now we need to talk about where. Sine is the second number on your unit circle. So I need a height of negative square root of 3 over 2. That takes me like down here. Okay, so I need to know where that crosses the unit circle right there. And over here. All right, so those two angles are what? What are those two angle positions? They both have a second number of negative square root of 3 over 2. What angle measures give me that?
30.
No.
60.
Well, we're in radians, first of all, but yeah, you're kind of on the right, okay, you're kind of on the right track that it's going to be the pi over 6 or pi over 3 ones. It's not the pi over 4 ones, because those give you square root of 2 over 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the right track there. 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Very good. Okay, so look at this. This is split into thirds. This would be 3/3. Then 4/3 takes you to here. 4/3 pi. This would be 5/3 pi, and 6/3 pi is back to the 0 line. So this gives me x values of 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Now I need to go in the negative direction. So what angles in the clockwise direction take me to the same positions? If I go negative 4 pi over 3, that's negative 1 and 1/3 pi. So I need to go 1 pi and another third in the negative direction. That doesn't take me to the same spot.
And I have no idea.
What takes you to the same spots going this direction? Negative pi over 3 and negative 2 pi over 3. Very good. Okay. Now, the cosine of x needs to equal 1/2. So my cosine value is the first number. My first number needs to be 1/2. So that's like right here. So my first number is 1/2 at this location. Let's see, right about there. And this location, oh, down here where I just was a second ago. All right, so some of the answers for this problem are going to be the same as the answers I just had a second ago. The angle measures will be the same, so some of them. Not all of them, some of them. So x equals what? These two positions are what I'm looking for now. How do I describe those two positions? Pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Very good. Pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. And what about in the negative direction? How do you get to these two spots? Go negative pi over 3 and
Negative 5.
negative 5 pi over 3. Very good. negative pi over 3 and negative 5 pi over 3. All right. How about sine of something equals square root of 2 over 2? Sine is the y value. Sine is square root of 2 over 2. I hope you know by now it's at the pi over 4 odd multiples. So let's see, the second number is square root of 2 over 2 at these two positions. All right, it's getting a little confusing because I have lots of lines drawn here. What are those position angles? This one is pi over 4. What's that one?
3 pi over 4.
3 pi over 4. Good. So x is pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. Now you need to list those same positions in the negative direction. So what is that? Negative 7. So go clockwise. So start here. Go clockwise. That takes me to 4 pi over 4. This would be negative 5 pi over 4, and that one is negative 7 pi over 4, like Katie said a second ago. Okay, so negative 5 pi over 4 and negative 7 pi over 4. How about the cosine of x equals negative 1? Let's see, cosine is the first number. Where's the first number? Negative 1. Negative 1?
Right there.
To the left. Yeah, right there. So negative 1, all right, is over there. What's that angle measure? Pi. But I said there'll always be at least 2. Negative pi, very good. On the interval negative 2 pi to 2 pi, there's always 2 solutions or more. So pi is one and negative pi is the other for this one. How about the sine value of 0? So the second number is 0 at what location? Oh, these. Okay, so same angle as I had a second ago, but also this one. All right, so what are those positions on the included or closed interval negative 2 pi to 2 pi? What angles are this one and that one?
2 pi.
2 pi is one. Pi is another. Negative 2 pi is another. Negative pi is another. We're missing one. 0. Very good. Okay, again, you are allowed to have answers of 2 pi and negative 2 pi on the closed interval. How about this one? Cosine of x equals negative 3/4. Cosine's the second number, so negative 3/4 is going to be like right about here. I hit the unit circle up here and down here. Do I recognize negative 3/4 as a coordinate on my unit circle? Negative 3/4, is that ever my first number on my unit circle? Oh, okay, so for that one, I need a calculator. It's not an option. For this one, you need a calculator. Now, to type that into your calculator, you're going to type in something like this. Inverse cosine, or cosine with a little negative 1, or arc cosine of negative 3 divided by 4. Make sure you put parentheses. Okay? So get that typed in radians and tell me what answer you get. 2.42. Thank you very much. You should get 2.42. I'll give you another minute to get that typed in if you didn't get it the first time. 2.42. So that's one of my solutions. X does equal 2.42. But we know from past experience that angle right there might be 2.42, but there's another one, and how the heck am I supposed to find the other one when it's not on the unit circle? Well, anybody have an idea before I tell you, before I guide you a little bit more?
2 pi minus 2.42.
Okay, that's not a bad idea. 2 pi minus 2.42. That will give me this angle. Very good. 2 pi, so 6.28 minus 2.42. That's what you need. I'm not arguing. That's a good way to do it. So 2 pi minus 2.42. So 2 pi is 6.28. You need to subtract 2.42. What do you get? That's not the only way to do it, by the way. That's probably the fastest way, though. So 6.28 is 2 pi. 6.28 minus 2.42 is what?
3.86.
3.86.
So 3.86 is another solution, but we still haven't gone in the negative direction. How do I get to those same two lines going in the negative direction?
Wouldn't one of them be negative 2.42?
Yes, it would be negative 2.42
And negative 3.8.
and negative 3.86. Very good. Okay. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, you can also use the symmetry of this function. This amount here is the same as that amount there, so you can take like 2.42 away from 3.14, which is pi, and then add it to pi to get to that position. That'd be fine. It doesn't matter though. Okay, how about sine of x equals square root of 3 over 2? Let's see, the sine is the second number. Where is the sine square root of 3 over 2? Pi over 3, very good. It's square root of 3 over 2 up here, and we know there's another angle that gives me that same height of square root of 3 over 2, second number. All right, so the angles that give me a sine of square root of 3 over 2 are what? 2/3 pi is 1. We have this one as well, so pi over 3. All right, so pi over 3, 2 pi over 3. What else? We got to go in the negative direction yet.
Negative 5.
Negative, not pi over 3, that takes me down here.
Yeah.
5 pi over 3 takes me all the way around to here. What's that one?
Negative 4 pi.
Negative 4 pi over 3. Okay, so negative 5 pi over 3 and negative 4 pi over 3. You understand this?
Yes.
Which of these can you not do on the unit circle? You'll need a calculator for that one as well. Okay, and you'll have to do it similar to how we did it. I'm trying to save time. Does that make sense?
Is the ones on the calculator, the negative ones, are they always the opposite? Just
No.
like, how do
You'll-
you find out?
Well, you'll have to use the fact that a whole circle is 2 pi, or that a half circle is pi. Take your pick, okay? It just kind of depends. Sine being a fourth, the sine is the y value, all right? There's another way to do it as well. You can kind of do some more memorizing than that, but it usually makes more sense for people to do it this way. So for this one, I would take that angle right there and I would subtract it from pi to land over here. Does that make sense? This width is going to be the same as that width. If I take pi minus that width, I'll get this angle, which is the other one I'm trying to find. So in my calculator, I'll get that angle, but I need this angle, so I'll take pi minus that angle to get it. All right? Okay. And then you would go in the negative direction, so you'll have to go pi plus that amount to get over here. Go all the way around and then add that amount on, and go 2 pi minus this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
a little more complicated for that one.